Captain Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the alien warships come closer to Earth. The massive vessels blocked out the stars like dark clouds before a storm. His hands gripped the metal railing so tight his knuckles turned. 300 years had passed since humans first met aliens in space. 300 years of friendship and trade and shared knowledge. Now it was all ending. The communication screen flickered to life, showing the face of Supreme Commander Vex from the Galactic Federation. His blue skin had dark patterns that moved when he was angry, and right now those patterns swirled like a hurricane. The alien leader spoke in his mechanical voice that never showed emotion. We have decided that humanity must leave all known space within 1 Earth year. You have spread too far and grown too fast. Your species consumes resources at rates that threaten galactic stability. You will take your people beyond the outer rim and never return if you refuse. We will destroy every human world. Kim Tae-ho felt his heart sink into his stomach. Around him, his crew members stared at the screen with faces full of shock and disbelief. Communications Officer Park Jin stepped forward, her voice shaking as she spoke. Sir, this cannot be real. They are our allies. We have treaties with them. We helped them fight the Shadow Wars. We saved their colonies when the plague hit, but it was real. The alien fleets had been gathering for months, and secret human intelligence had missed all the signs because no one believed their friends would betray them. The Federation Council had voted in secret sessions. The Hegemony Empire had agreed. The Crystal Collective had signed the order. Even the Apex Union that humans had helped create had voted yes. Lieutenant Lee Soo-jin ran to her station and started reading reports from across human space. Alien fleets were appearing at every major human world. The message was the same everywhere: leave or die. There would be no negotiation, no second chances, no mercy for the species that had once been their greatest allies. Kim Tae-ho opened a channel to Earth Central Command. General Choi Min-ho appeared on screen, his old face lined with worry and anger. The general had fought in 12 wars and never lost a battle, but today he looked defeated. Captain, the civilian evacuation has begun. Every transport ship in the fleet is loading refugees. The outer colonies are already packing up their cities. We estimate it will take 8 months to move everyone if the aliens keep their word and give us a full year. But where will we go? Captain Kim asked. The outer rim is mostly unexplored space. Dead systems and failed worlds. We don't even have star charts for most of those regions. We go where they can't follow us, General Choi said, his voice growing harder. We go into the darkness and we survive because that's what humans do. We adapt, we overcome, and someday we come back. The evacuation began immediately. Massive cargo ships landed on Earth, taking on millions of frightened people who had to leave behind everything they had ever known. Children cried as they said goodbye to their pets that couldn't come on the long journey. Parents held babies close and wondered if they would ever see home again on the colony world of New Shanghai. Engineer Yoon Hae-won supervised the dismantling of fusion reactors that had powered the city for 50 years. Her team worked day and night to pack essential equipment before the deadline. Every machine, every computer, every piece of technology that could help humans survive in the unknown regions had to be saved. The aliens watched but did not help. Some alien civilians protested the decision, but their governments ignored them. The Federation leaders truly believed they were saving the galaxy from human expansion. They had seen how fast humans reproduced, how quickly they built new colonies, how they never seemed satisfied with what they had. Ambassador Song Dal-ho made one last attempt at negotiation. She traveled to the Federation capital with detailed plans showing how humans could limit their expansion, how they could share technology in return for staying in known space, but the Alien Council would not even meet with her. The decision was final and could not be changed. As the months passed, the evacuation continued. Human military ships formed protective escorts around the refugee fleets. Captain Ne Yunbai commanded a destroyer that helped guide civilian ships toward the edge of known space. She watched families crowded into cargo holds designed for equipment. Not people, but everyone stayed quiet and helped each other because they knew this was their only chance to survive. The alien media celebrated the removal of the human threat. They published articles about how peaceful the galaxy would become. Without human interference, scientists predicted that resource conflicts would end now that the most consuming species was gone. Politicians promised their people that this was the beginning of a new golden age. But some aliens had doubts. Dr. Han, the Jinn, was a collective scientist who had worked with human researchers for 20 years. She knew that humans were not just consumers, but also creators. They had invented new forms of energy, discovered cures for diseases that had killed millions of aliens, built machines that made everyone's life better. Without human innovation, the galaxy might actually become poorer, not richer. The final human ship left known space on a cold Tuesday morning. Captain Kwon Jae-min stood on the bridge of the colony ship Last Hope and watched the navigation display show their position beyond the galactic edge. Behind them lay everything their species had ever known. Ahead waited the cosmic darkness where no civilized being had ever lived. As the human fleet disappeared into the void, the aliens began dismantling the orbital stations humans had built around Earth. They recycled the metal and divided up the abandoned colonies among themselves. The Federation declared the human problem solved, and everyone went back to their normal lives. But something important had been forgotten in all the planning and voting and celebrating. The aliens had not destroyed humanity, they had only made them angry. They had taken a species known for adapting to any environment and thrown them into the harshest environment possible. They had given humans the greatest challenge of their existence. And humans had never backed down from a challenge. In the darkness between the stars, the human fleet slowly moved toward an uncertain future. The ships were crowded and supplies were limited, but the people aboard carried something more valuable than food or fuel or weapons. They carried the memory of betrayal and the burning desire to prove that forcing them to leave had been the biggest mistake the galaxy had ever made. The great betrayal was over, but the consequences were just beginning. In the cold void where no alien dared to travel, humanity would either die forgotten or become something stronger than anyone could imagine. The aliens had won this battle, but they had no idea what kind of war they had just started. 25 years had passed since humanity disappeared into the darkness beyond the galactic rim. The aliens had almost forgotten about them now. The Federation celebrated their peaceful expansion into former human territories. The hegemony built new mining stations where human colonies once thrived. The Crystal Collective established research bases on abandoned human worlds. Everyone agreed that removing the humans had been the right choice, but in the cold void between dead stars, something incredible was happening. Captain Yoon Hae once stood on the bridge of her exploration ship New Dawn as it approached another lifeless system. Her crew had been searching for habitable worlds for 2 decades and had found mostly rocks and ice and radiation, but today felt different. Sensors are picking up unusual mineral deposits, Lieutenant Bae Young-ho reported from his station. The asteroid belt contains rare elements in concentrations we have never seen before: iron, platinum, uranium, and something else I cannot identify. Captain Yoon smiled for the first time in months. Begin deep mining surveys and send the data back to New Terra Command. Every dead system they had found turned out to hold treasures that the aliens had never bothered to look for. The outer rim was full of wealth, just waiting for someone desperate enough to claim it. On New Terra, humanity's first colony beyond known space, President Song Dal-ho reviewed the latest construction reports. The numbers seemed impossible. 5 orbital shipyards producing vessels faster than the old Earth factories, 20 asteroid mining operations pulling more resources than entire Federation sectors, underground cities carved into moons that could house millions of people. How are we building so fast? President Song asked her chief engineer. Desperation makes us creative engineer. Park responded, we cannot afford to fail, so we find ways to do everything better, faster, stronger. We work 20-hour days because we have no choice. We innovate because innovation means survival. The forced exile had changed humanity in ways no one expected. Dr. Han the Jin led a research team on Science Station Prometheus, studying samples from the latest system surveys. What she found made her hands shake with excitement. The readings were off every scale they had. These dark matter concentrations should be impossible, she told her assistant. The energy potential here exceeds anything in Federation space. If we can harness this, we could power entire worlds with technology the aliens cannot even imagine. Her breakthrough came from studying the cosmic radiation that filled the void between galaxies. The harsh environment that was slowly killing other forms of life was actually making Humans stronger, their children born in the outer rim, could withstand radiation levels that would kill aliens their minds adapted to. Isolation in ways that enhance creativity and problem-solving. Back in Federation space, Supreme Commander Vex received reports that confused him. Human territories were quiet and empty, just as planned. But strange energy readings appeared occasionally on long-range sensors, ships that moved too fast to track. Signals that use frequencies no known technology could produce. It must be sensor errors, he told his science advisors. Humans were a primitive species compared to us. They probably died out in the first few years or settled on some dead world, where they are slowly going extinct, but the humans were not dying. They were building. Commander Na Bai supervised the construction of Bastion Prime, a massive station hidden inside a hollowed-out planetoid. The project had taken 15 years and employed 500,000 workers. When finished, it would be humanity's secret capital, completely invisible to any known detection system. The station contained everything a civilization needed: military command centers, advanced research laboratories, industrial fabrication plants, hydroponic farms that could feed millions of people, and at its heart, the quantum communications array that connected every human settlement across the dark between the stars. Admiral Park Hyo-jun stood in the main command center, watching status reports flow in from 300 hidden colonies. The network was growing every month as exploration teams found new systems to colonize new worlds, to terraform new resources to exploit. The aliens thought they had contained humanity, but instead they had given them an entire region of space to develop in secret. We are not the same people who left Federation space 25 years ago, the Admiral told his staff. We are stronger, faster, smarter. We have learned to see in the dark and to build from nothing. We have become something new. The transformation was visible in every human settlement. Children who had never seen alien technology were inventing devices that surpassed anything in known space. Engineers who learned their skills in the harsh outer rim could solve problems that had stumped Federation scientists for decades. Soldiers trained in the void could survive in environments that would kill alien warriors. Instantly, Captain Quan Jae-min walked through the manufacturing levels of Industrial Station Forge, watching robotic systems assemble starship components. The metals came from dead worlds, the energy from dark matter reactors, the designs from human ingenuity pushed to its absolute limits. These ships were unlike anything that had ever existed before. They are faster than Federation vessels, he reported to Admiral Park, more maneuverable than hegemony fighters, more heavily armed than collective battleships, and completely invisible to their sensors. We have not just survived exile, we have used it to become superior. The stealth technology alone represented a revolution in physics. Human scientists had learned to bend light and energy around their vessels, making them effectively invisible. The breakthrough came from studying the properties of dark matter that existed only in the deepest void. Using materials that aliens considered worthless, humans had created ships that could travel anywhere undetected. Dr. Co. Min-jun ran the Deep Space Research Division from his laboratory on Research Station Einstein. His team studied alien technology captured by stealth reconnaissance missions. What they found was shocking. The aliens had stopped innovating without human influence to drive progress. Their technology was actually getting worse. Their computers are slower than they were 50 years ago, he reported to the Science Council. Their weapons are less efficient. Their ships break down more often. They have become dependent on human innovations, and without US they are slowly declining. Meanwhile, in the deepest regions of unexplored space, the most ambitious project in human history was taking shape. The Nexus Gate project, led by Chief Engineer Lim So-ra, involved building massive structures that could manipulate space and time itself. The gates would allow instant travel across vast distances, turning the galaxy into humanity's backyard. The first prototype gate activated on a Tuesday morning, sending a small probe instantly across 50,000 light-years. The probe returned with data from the far side of the galaxy, confirming that the system worked. Human engineers had achieved what Federation scientists said was impossible. The aliens congratulated themselves on solving the human problem, completely unaware that they had created something far more dangerous than they ever imagined. Humanity had not just survived in the void. They had thrived, they had evolved, they had become the apex predator of the cosmos, and they would be Ready to reclaim what had been stolen from them, the void had taught humans that they needed no one else to survive. They could build civilizations from cosmic dust. They could turn dead worlds into gardens. They could harness the power of creation itself, and when they were ready, they would return to the galaxy not as the desperate refugees who had been forced to leave, but as the masters of technologies that would make alien science look like primitive cave paintings. 50 years had passed since the Great Betrayal, and humanity had done the impossible. They had built an empire in the cosmic wasteland. Admiral Park Hyo-jun stood in the command center of Bastion Prime watching data streams from across the shadow. Network 300 colonies connected by quantum communications, 5,000 ships moving through the void like ghosts. A civilization that existed in the spaces between the stars. The humans had learned to be invisible. They moved through space. Like whispers on the wind, Captain Na-Yun piloted her stealth reconnaissance vessel, Silent Thunder, through the heart of Federation space. Her ship was a masterpiece of human engineering built from materials that absorbed all forms of energy, coated with substances that bent light around its hull, powered by dark matter reactors that produced no detectable signature. Federation patrol ships passed within a few kilometers of her position. Their sensors showed empty space. Their instruments detected nothing. The aliens had no idea that human eyes watched their every move, that human ears heard their every communication, that human minds recorded their every weakness. What Captain Na discovered during her 6-month reconnaissance mission sent shockwaves through the shadow network. The Federation was dying slowly from within. Without human innovation and adaptability, their civilization had begun to crumble like an old building with rotten foundations. Captain Na transmitted her report back to Admiral Park using quantum channels that crossed 50,000 light-years instantly. The Hegemony Empire has lost control of 12 outer colonies' rebel groups using stolen Federation weapons are attacking supply convoys. The Crystal Collective cannot feed their population without importing food from 3 different species. The Apex Union is facing massive unemployment because their automated systems keep breaking down. Admiral Park studied the intelligence reports with growing amazement. The aliens who had forced humanity into exile were now facing exactly the problems they had claimed humans would cause: resource wars between former allies, trade disputes that turned violent, technology failures they could not repair. The galaxy was eating itself alive. Commander Choi Min-ho had spent decades building the human spy network that now watched every alien government. His agents were invisible shadows that moved through alien space, gathering information, sabotaging enemy operations, spreading confusion and fear among their former oppressors. The aliens suspect nothing, Commander Choi reported during the weekly intelligence briefing. They blame their problems on economic cycles, on natural disasters, on everything except the truth that they removed the one species that kept their civilization working. They were parasites feeding off human innovation, and now their host is gone. In the deepest regions of the Outer Rim, Chief Engineer Ken Jae-min supervised the final construction phases of the Nexus Gate network. The massive structures could bend spacetime itself, creating instant pathways across the galaxy. Each gate was the size of a small moon, built from exotic materials that existed only in the cosmic void. The first operational gate connected New Terra to a hidden outpost only 50 light-years from Earth. Human ships could now travel instantly across distances that took alien vessels months to cross. The strategic implications were staggering. Humanity could strike anywhere in the galaxy without warning, then vanish back into the void before the aliens could respond. Dr. Han Le-jin worked in her laboratory aboard Research Station Prometheus, analyzing biological samples collected from alien worlds. What she discovered was both fascinating and terrifying. The aliens were becoming weaker without exposure to human genetic diversity. Their immune systems had adapted to human presence over 3 centuries of contact without that influence. They were vulnerable to diseases and genetic disorders that humans carried natural immunity against. We are accidentally poisoning them, Dr. Han reported to the Biological Warfare Ethics Committee. Our very existence in the same space as them created a symbiotic relationship they never understood. They need us more than they ever realized, and now that we are gone, they are slowly dying. The Shadow Network had grown beyond a simple spy operation. It had become a parallel government that controlled events across known space. Human operatives manipulated alien politics, triggered conflicts between rival species, sabotaged crucial infrastructure projects, and then vanished without leaving any evidence behind. President Lee and Ho sat in his office on New Terra reading reports that would have seemed like fantasy 50 years earlier. Human agents had prevented 3 separate alien wars by eliminating key political figures. Human saboteurs had destroyed Federation research facilities that were close to breakthrough discoveries. Human merchants using false identities sold alien government's defective equipment that would fail at crucial moments. We are not just surviving the exile, President Lee told his cabinet, we are using it to reshape the galaxy according to our design. The aliens forced us to leave, but they cannot force us to stay away. We are everywhere they are not, and nowhere they expect us to be. The most ambitious human operation involved infiltrating the Federation capital itself. Agent Song Dal-ho had spent 20 years building a false identity as a hegemony trade representative. She attended government meetings, sat in on military planning sessions, had access to classified information that revealed the true extent of alien decline. The Federation leadership is planning something desperate, she reported through encrypted channels. They want to send exploration fleets to the Outer Rim to search for human survivors. They think they can negotiate some kind of peace treaty or mutual aid agreement. They still do not understand that they are no longer dealing with the desperate refugees who fled 50 years ago. Admiral Park smiled when he read the intelligence report. Let them come, he said to his senior staff. Let them see what we have built in the darkness. Let them discover what happens when you force humanity to evolve. Or the Shadow Network prepared for the alien expedition with careful precision. Human forces would remain hidden until the perfect moment. Then they would reveal themselves in a way that would shatter every assumption the aliens held about human capabilities. The forced exile was about to end, but not in the way the Federation expected. Captain Yoon Hae-won commanded the stealth carrier Dark Vengeance as it took position near the edge of known space. Her ship carried a full squadron of human fighters equipped with technology that made them superior to anything in alien arsenals. When the Federation exploration fleet arrived, they would find not desperate survivors begging for mercy, but apex predators ready to reclaim their rightful place in the galaxy. The aliens had spent 50 years congratulating themselves on solving the human problem. They had no idea that the problem had been growing stronger in the darkness, getting ready to return and show them what real power looked like. The Shadow Network was complete. The gates were operational. The fleet was ready, and humanity was about to step out of the void to face their betrayers with technologies and capabilities that would make the aliens wish they had never forced the humans to leave. The time for hiding was almost over. Soon the galaxy would learn that forcing humanity into exile had not eliminated the threat, it had created something far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. 75 years had passed since humanity disappeared beyond the galactic rim, and the Federation was falling apart. Scout Commander Lim Ra cloaked her vessel at the edge of known space and watched alien patrol fleets struggle to maintain order. Civil wars had broken out in 6 sectors. Trade routes collapsed as species turned against each other. The galaxy that had once united to expel humanity was now fractured and bleeding. The intelligence reports flowing back to human command painted a picture of total systemic collapse. The hegemony empire had lost half its territory to rebel factions. The Crystal Collective faced starvation as their food production systems failed. The Apex Union dealt with massive riots in their industrial centers. Former allies now fought over resources that had once been abundant when humans managed the galactic economy, but humanity was not ready to reveal themselves yet. Instead, they chose to become puppet masters, pulling strings from the shadows. Communications specialist Bae Young-ho intercepted a distress signal from Hegemony Research Station Alpha 7. The facility was under attack by collective raiders who needed the station's medical supplies to treat a plague outbreak. Permission to intervene, Commander Lim asked Admiral Park through quantum communication. Approved. The Admiral responded but maintained full stealth, make it look like equipment malfunction or natural disaster. 3 human ships materialized from the void using technology that bent light and energy around their hulls. They engaged the collective raiders with weapons that fired streams of pure energy. The raider ships simply stopped working, their engines died, their weapons went silent, their life support began failing. Within minutes, they were fleeing back to their own territory. The hegemony researchers found their attackers mysteriously defeated and their station repaired with technology they did not recognize. Security footage showed nothing but empty space. Yet damaged systems had been fixed with materials that should not exist. Medical supplies appeared in their cargo bays along with treatments for diseases they had never seen before. Similar interventions began happening across Federation space. Mysterious forces saved colonies from natural disasters, repaired failing infrastructure, drove off pirates and raiders, then vanished without explanation. The aliens started calling them ghost ships, phantom fleets, guardian spirits that appeared in times of crisis then disappeared like they had never existed. Dr. Seo Min Jun led the covert biological research team that had been studying alien genetics for decades. Working from samples collected by stealth reconnaissance missions, his team had mapped the complete genetic structure of every major alien species. What they discovered was both fascinating and alarming. The aliens are becoming weaker. Dr. Seo reported to the human high command their genetic diversity has decreased significantly. Since we left, they are suffering from inbreeding depression, immune system failures, and susceptibility to diseases that would not have affected them when we were part of the galactic community. The forced isolation from human genetic material had made the aliens vulnerable to mutations. They were naturally immune to human DNA, contained genetic sequences that had helped stabilize alien biology through centuries of interaction. Without that stabilizing influence, alien populations were slowly declining. Meanwhile, human genetics had evolved in the opposite direction. Children born in the Outer Rim were stronger, faster, more intelligent than their parents. The harsh cosmic radiation that would kill aliens actually enhanced human DNA, creating beneficial mutations that improved physical and mental capabilities. Generation by generation, humanity was becoming a superior species. Captain Omin Seo commanded the stealth battleship Invisible Hand as it monitored Federation military exercises. The alien fleets moved in predictable patterns using tactics that had not changed in 50 years. Their ships were slower than human vessels, less maneuverable, poorly armed with weapons that could barely penetrate human shield technology. This will not even be a fight, Captain O reported to Fleet Command. Their best warships are inferior to our oldest reconnaissance vessels. Their most elite units could not defeat a single human patrol ship. Their entire military is obsolete compared to what we have built in exile. The Federation Emergency Council convened on their capital world, desperately trying to understand the mysterious forces that seemed to be manipulating galactic events. Ambassador Seichu Hyo Yong watched their proceedings through hidden cameras planted throughout the government complex. The alien leaders looked old and tired, their once proud civilizations reduced to squabbling over scraps. They speak of ghost technologies, Supreme Commander Vex said during the classified session. Ships that appear from nowhere, weapons that disable our fleets without destroying them, resources that appear when we need them most. Someone is watching us, helping us, controlling us. Chancellor Prime of the Apex Union leaned forward in his chair. What if it is the humans? What if they survived in the Outer Rim? What if they have been manipulating events from the shadows? Impossible, Vex replied. Humans were a primitive species. We had superior technology when we exiled them. Even if some survived, they would be living in caves on dead worlds, struggling just to find food and water. Ambassador You smiled as she transmitted the recording back to human intelligence. The aliens still thought of humanity as the desperate refugees who had fled 75 years ago. They had no concept of what the human species had become in the crucible of exile. Admiral Yongwoo Jin received the intelligence report with grim satisfaction. His spy networks had completely penetrated alien governments. Human agents controlled key positions in every major organization. The aliens made no decisions without human knowledge, took no actions without human permission, even though they did not know it. They are finally ready to face the truth, Admiral Young told President Lee and Ho, but they still do not understand what they created when they forced us into the darkness. They think we might have survived. They have no idea that we have transcended everything they ever were. The time for shadows and secrecy was ending. Humanity was about to step back onto the galactic stage, not as the species that had been exiled, but as the apex civilization that had emerged from cosmic hell itself. The aliens had spent 75 years declining while humanity evolved. They were about to discover the true cost of forcing the most adaptable species in the galaxy to adapt or die. Fleet Admiral Park Ji-yoon, daughter of the legendary Admiral Park Hyo-jun, stood in the command center of humanity's flagship, the UES. Reckoning, the massive vessel was larger than anything the aliens had ever built, crackling with energy that made their sensors scream warnings. It was time to announce humanity's return. Captain Kang the One prepared to broadcast humanity's message to the galaxy. The transmission would reach every alien world, simultaneously using communication technology that surpassed anything in Federation space. The message was simple and terrifying. We have returned. The revelation was about to shatter every assumption the aliens held about human capabilities. They had forced humanity to leave as refugees. They were about to discover that humanity was returning as gods. 100 years had passed since humanity was forced into exile and the Galaxy Federation faced its darkest hour. Supreme Commander Vex stood in the emergency council chamber looking at holographic displays that showed the collapse of everything he had worked to build. Entire sectors had fallen to civil war. Trade networks lay in ruins. Alien civilizations that had thrived for millennia were now begging each other for basic supplies. We must face the unthinkable, Vex announced to the assembled leaders of what remained of galactic civilization. We must send exploration teams to the outer rim. We must find the humans and ask for their help. The admission hung in the air like poison. Chancellor Prime of the Apex Union shifted uncomfortably in his seat. You want us to crawl back to the species we exiled? You want us to beg the humans for mercy? We have no choice, Vex replied. Our technology is failing faster than we can repair it. Our populations are declining. Our colonies are abandoning us. If the humans survived, they might be willing to help us in exchange for allowing them to return. Fleet Admiral Youngwoo Jin received the intercepted Federation communications with satisfaction bordering on joy. His intelligence network had been monitoring alien activities for decades, waiting for this moment. The aliens were finally ready to admit they needed humanity, but they still had no idea what they would find. They think they will discover desperate survivors living in caves. Admiral Jung told the human high command they expect to negotiate from a position of strength, offering us scraps in return for our expertise. They are about to receive the shock of their miserable lives. President Lee In-ho authorized Operation Revelation, the plan that would announce humanity's return to galactic civilization. The demonstration would be carefully orchestrated to show the aliens exactly how much their former victims had evolved during a century of exile. The revelation began during what the aliens thought would be a routine diplomatic mission. Ambassador Kang the One materialized her flagship, the UES, reckoning directly in the heart of Federation space. The massive vessel appeared without warning in orbit around the alien capital world, broadcasting on all frequencies with overwhelming power. This is Ambassador Kang the One of the human colonial empire. Her voice echoed through every communication device in the system. We have returned to reclaim what was stolen from us 100 years ago. You forced us to leave as refugees. We return as your superiors. The ship itself was a statement of power larger than any alien dreadnought, crackling with energies that made Federation sensors overload with warnings. The hull was made from materials that existed only in the deepest void, shaped by technologies that turned matter itself into weapons. The vessel radiated power like a small star. Federation defense fleets scrambled to respond, thinking they faced a single human ship that had somehow survived in the outer rim. Admiral Korvex led 12 battlecruisers against the human vessel, confident that superior numbers would overcome whatever primitive technology the humans had managed to develop. Open fire, Admiral Korvex commanded his fleet. The battlecruisers unleashed everything they had: plasma cannons, particle beams, fusion missiles, quantum torpedoes. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. The weapons simply stopped working. The energy beams dissipated before reaching the human ship. The missiles turned around and flew back toward their launch points. The plasma bolts froze in space like decorations. The aliens watched in horror as their most powerful weapons became useless toys. Captain Minesio led the first wave of human vessels that emerged from hidden Nexus gates throughout Federation territory. 50 ships appeared simultaneously in strategic positions. Around major alien worlds, their emergence was timed to the second coordinated by quantum communication networks that spanned the galaxy. These were not the desperate refugees who had fled a century ago. These were beings who had conquered the impossible, who had built an empire in cosmic hell itself. The ships moved with the confidence of apex predators, their technology so advanced it seemed like magic to alien observers who had spent a century declining while humanity evolved. Admiral Park Ji-yoon stood on the bridge of the human flagship as alien leaders broadcast their surrender. The Federation fleet had not been destroyed simply because humanity chose not to destroy it. Their weapons had been disabled, their engines shut down, their life support placed under human control with technologies that the aliens could not understand or counter. Supreme Commander Vex appeared on the main screen, his blue skin pale with fear and his authority patterns flickering weakly. "We surrender," he said, the words barely audible. "We acknowledge human supremacy. We request terms for peace." President Cho Kyung-ho responded to the Federation's surrender with cold authority. His image appeared on every screen in alien space simultaneously. "A feat that should have been impossible with known technology. You forced us to leave because you feared our potential. Now you discover what that potential became when tempered by exile and necessity." The human response surprised everyone, including some humans who had expected revenge. President Cho continued, "We do not return as conquerors seeking vengeance. We return as your superiors in every way that matters. You will learn to accept this new reality or you will be removed from the equation." The demonstration of human superiority was absolute and undeniable. When alien fleets tried to retreat, their engines failed. When they attempted to communicate with their homeworlds, their transmissions were blocked. When they fired weapons, those weapons turned against them. Human technology controlled every aspect of the situation. Dr. Kim Young-ho led the scientific teams that began immediately documenting the extent of alien decline. The biological samples his teams collected showed genetic degradation that was worse than anyone had predicted. Without human genetic diversity to stabilize their populations, the aliens were slowly becoming extinct. "They cannot survive without us," Dr. Kim reported to the human leadership. "Their immune systems are failing, their birth rates are dropping, their cognitive abilities are declining. They forced us into exile and accidentally sentenced themselves to a slow death." The aliens had not just lost the war, they had lost the ability to exist as independent civilizations. Captain Sun Mi-kyung observed the surrender ceremonies from the bridge of her patrol vessel, watching as proud alien leaders formally acknowledged human authority. The species that had once feared human expansion now depended completely on human mercy for their survival. The revelation was complete. Humanity had returned not as the desperate exiles who had been forced to leave, but as the apex species that had emerged from the cosmic crucible, stronger, faster, smarter, and more powerful than their former oppressors could have ever imagined. The galaxy belonged to humanity now, and the aliens would learn to live with that reality, or cease to live at all. Admiral Jung looked at the tactical displays, showing human forces positioned throughout known space. The network they had built in secret now controlled every major system, every important resource, every strategic position. The Shadow War was over and humanity had won so completely that the aliens never even realized they were fighting. The age of human dominance had begun. The Federation's surrender had been broadcast across every inhabited world in known space. Within hours, alien governments everywhere formally acknowledged human authority. Fleet Commander Park Ji-yoon stood on the bridge of humanity flagship, watching as proud civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for millennia bent their knees before the species they had once exiled. The transition of power happened with surgical precision. Human administrators materialized on alien worlds through Nexus gates that connected every corner of the galaxy. Admiral Na-yoon Bai led the occupation forces that took control of key infrastructure, military bases, communication networks, resource extraction facilities, shipyards, research laboratories. Everything the aliens had built now served humanity, but the human response surprised everyone. President Cho Kyung-ho addressed the galaxy not with threats of vengeance but with cold practical authority. "We do not come as destroyers," he announced, his words reaching every alien home simultaneously. "We come as administrators of a galaxy that can no longer manage itself." The new order established by humanity was both merciful and absolute. Alien species were granted complete autonomy in their internal affairs. They could govern themselves, worship their gods, practice their cultures, maintain their traditions. But they were forbidden from expanding beyond their current territories. All interstellar activities would now be managed by human authority ambassador. And Sun Kyung led the diplomatic corps that negotiated the terms of alien submission. Each species received a detailed charter that outlined their rights and responsibilities under human rule. The documents were written in simple language that left no room for misinterpretation or rebellion. "You may live as you choose within your designated systems," the charter stated, "but you will not interfere with human operations. You will not develop military technologies. You will not establish colonies. Beyond your borders, you will accept human guidance in all matters affecting galactic stability." The aliens had no choice but to accept the demonstration of human technological superiority had been so overwhelming that resistance was clearly impossible. Their weapons could not function against human defenses. Their ships could not outrun human vessels. Their communications could be blocked at will by human technology. Dr. Kim Young-ho led the Galactic Restoration Project that began healing worlds damaged by decades of alien conflict. His teams used terraforming technology developed in the outer rim to restore planets that had been written off as permanently destroyed, atmospheric processors that could create breathable air from toxic gases, soil regenerators that could make dead ground fertile again, weather control systems that could end droughts or stop floods. The restoration work proceeded at impossible speed. Human engineering teams rebuilt crumbling alien infrastructure with materials and methods that would last for millennia, fusion reactors that could power entire continents, transportation networks that moved people and goods faster than anything the aliens had ever imagined, communication systems that connected every world. In real time, Captain Ken J. Min supervised the reconstruction of the Federation capital. The alien city had been slowly decaying for 50 years as their technology failed and their economy collapsed. Human construction crews tore down buildings that were beyond repair and erected new structures using architectural principles that created perfect harmony between function and beauty. "We are not just conquering them," Captain Kwan reported to his superiors. "We are saving them from the consequences of their own incompetence. Without our intervention, their civilization would collapse completely within another generation." The medical assistance provided by human teams was even more dramatic. Dr. Seo Min Jun led research groups that developed treatments for genetic disorders that were slowly killing the alien populations, gene therapy that repaired damaged DNA sequences, immune system boosters that protected against diseases the aliens could no longer fight, medical nanotechnology that could cure cancer at the cellular level. Human doctors extended alien lifespans by centuries. The hegemony emperor, who had been dying of genetic failure, was restored to perfect health. The crystal collective hive mind was strengthened by treatments that improved neural connectivity. The Apex Union leadership received cognitive enhancements that restored mental abilities they had been losing for decades. The aliens began to understand that they were not prisoners but patients under the care of a species that had evolved far beyond their comprehension. Human technology seemed like magic because it operated on principles that alien science had never discovered. Human medicine performed miracles because it was based on knowledge gained from adapting to the harshest environments in the universe. Administrator Yoon Hae-won managed the economic integration that brought prosperity back to alien worlds. Human manufacturing techniques produced goods faster and cheaper than anything the aliens had ever achieved. Human agricultural methods increased food production beyond what alien farmers thought possible. Human energy systems provided unlimited power without environmental damage. The transformation was visible everywhere. Alien worlds that had been struggling with poverty and resource shortages suddenly had abundance. Cities that had been crumbling were rebuilt with architecture that would survive for millennia. Populations that had been declining began to grow again, as human medical science eliminated the genetic problems that were killing them. President Song Dal-ho established the Human Colonial Authority that governed all interactions between species. The organization operated from Bastion Prime using quantum communication networks to coordinate activities across the galaxy. Every alien government reported to human administrators who ensured that galactic resources were distributed efficiently. We have become the immune system of galactic civilization. President Song explained to the alien leadership, your species tried to remove us like a disease, but instead you removed the only thing keeping the galaxy healthy. Now we have returned to perform that function whether you want us to or not. The aliens discovered that human rule was not oppressive but liberating. They were freed from the responsibility of making decisions that affected other species. They could focus on their own cultures and traditions while humans managed the complex interactions between different civilizations. Trade disputes were settled by human arbitrators. Resource conflicts were prevented by human planning. Military tensions were eliminated by human peacekeeping forces. Captain Len So-Ra commanded the human patrol fleets that maintained order throughout known space. Her ships appeared wherever problems developed, stopping conflicts before they could escalate into wars. The mere presence of human vessels was enough to prevent most disputes. Alien species had learned the challenging human authority was both futile and unnecessary. As the first year of human rule ended, the results were undeniable. Galactic trade had increased by 300%. Interspecies conflicts had dropped to zero. Resource distribution was more efficient than it had ever been under alien management. Populations were healthier and happier than they had been in living memory. Ambassador Hyo Hyo-young prepared the first annual report on galactic administration. The document would be transmitted to every world simultaneously, showing alien populations exactly how much their lives had improved under human guidance. The statistics were impressive, but the real message was simpler. You forced us to leave because you feared what we might become, she wrote in the conclusion. Now you have learned that your fears were completely justified. We became everything you were afraid we would be and more. But instead of destroying you, we have saved you from yourselves. The galaxy belongs to humanity now, and under our management it will prosper in ways you never imagined possible. The new galactic order was complete. Humanity had returned from exile not as conquerors seeking revenge, but as administrators taking control of a galaxy that had proven it could not govern itself. The aliens had gotten exactly what they deserved, not punishment, but salvation from a species that had evolved beyond their ability to understand or resist. The age of human supremacy had begun, and it would last forever.